close enough. It's about average. Okay, welcome back everybody. It's Coast to Host. I'm Jacob.
And I'm Luca.
He's Luca. We're wearing school colors. Lost school pride today. We were gonna do a Twitch stream,
Not
and then
just
we found
the
out.
colors, buddy.
Yeah, we were gonna do a Twitch stream today, and then we found out that we're actually really stupid. So then we tapped out, and we're just gonna do this one now, and we'll figure out a different Twitch stream for a different day, which sucks, but it is what it is. Anyways.
Super stupid.
Yeah, I mean, I can't tell if it's just really elaborate or if we're just download. Probably both. It's probably both, but that's fine.
Like, I followed the instructions, and it just wasn't an option on our account. I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe we have to set something up first.
My brother recommended something called OBS, so maybe we'll just try that and see if that works next time. We'll do a practice run a couple days.
Yeah, which would have been the best thing to do here.
Just dots, Twitch. Today's episode, we thought it'd be cool to talk about artistic influences and homage and theft in that order. There's actually not a real order, but why not? So let's start it off. Do you want to go first? Or do you want me to go first?
Let's hear you go first, buddy.
Okay, so the person I always think of, and this is such a weird cycle. So again, I do movies. He does stand up. Tarantino is both the most duplicated filmmaker and also a well-known. What would the word be? I don't want to say thief, but someone who uses other people's stuff frequently. And I know everyone does.
Dirty rat thief.
He's kind of a dirty rat thief. I mean, because there's a difference between homage and like, do you ever see that thing with like Reservoir Dogs is just a complete retread of a movie called City on Fire?
Yeah, I've heard that.
It's like identical. So with like certain shots, most of the beats being almost identical, and it's like that just seems to be theft, right? And like, and it's funny because then like on top of him doing that, people like in film school, like, and I'm sure like not even just film school, like in movies, there's a bunch of stuff that rip him off. Like there's a movie that's really famous called Smoking Aces, which is like, this is obviously like someone trying their best to do Tarantino and they're not successful at it.
So, is your stance that this is fine or that this is not?
Oh, my stance on it? I don't actually know. I mean, I think it's interesting. It's interesting that a man who, I don't know what the word would be, but like, because a lot of his like Pulp Fiction is completely original. Like that's an original concept. He did that completely on his own. Django is pretty like, obviously there's homages still, and there's still stuff. But like they're for the most part their own thing, but it's still a lot of it that is taken. And in the case of Reservoir Dogs, it's identical to City on Fire. So I mean, in some ways, he's kind of a thief, and it's funny that man, his shit gets stolen from. It's almost like, you know what I mean? It's like a weird cycle. I mean, you don't know how many times I've read scripts in film school where I'm like, cool, you just watched Pulp Fiction again. This is great. Like, they're not as, and of course they're never as clever, they're never as witty or interesting. It's weird because his characters are all interesting for the most part. We've both seen a lot of Tarantino movies. He does, like, you know, despite their many pitfalls, they're super interesting movies, and the characters is what makes them interesting. Pulp Fiction relies solely on the characters. If those characters aren't good, that movie's garbage. And the people that try to replicate them usually write awful characters. They had this weird thing where there's a difference between quirks, like, it's a good one. Like, in Pulp Fiction, like, the wolf has that great scene where, like, he tells John Travolta and Sam Jackson, you know, you guys are 30 minutes away. I'll be there in 10. And then it shows the very bottom, like, 9 minutes and 30 seconds later as he's coming down the street. And, like, shit like that's cool, but, like, his character is more than just that little quirk. And I think people confuse that little, like, those quirk things as, like, that's just the character. This is the, you know, and, like, it's just not fun. Anyways, so that's just, like, it's kind of what made me think of this, because I think everyone has influences. Which is actually something I want to talk about, like, because I'm sure we both have influences, and there's almost a line between influence, theft, and like homage or reboots, and it's weird for stand-up, right?
Well, I feel like there's way less tolerance for in stand-up. Like, for film, isn't it almost Like, as long as it's not, you're not stealing like a plot, you're stealing like shots. Like, it's just considered a tribute.
Well, it's a funny thing of like, what's stealing plot, right? Like, what is it? Just like, because we could redo dialogue. That's fine. You could redo story beats. That's fine. You could retread like. It's kind of an interesting thing of like, what at what point is it theft? You know, if I
You could redo an entire dialogue. You think?
Pulp Fiction, that the speech he gives when he says, "And I will strike down upon thee with great vengeance," that is completely stolen from like some Russian shit, and sorry, something happened. Like completely stolen. You could steal a bunch of stuff. There's a movie called Revolutionary Road where they steal huge chunks from a play called Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf.
There's gotta be like compilations, right? Right.
Probably. Well, I was gonna say for like comedians though, isn't it difficult? I'm sure there has to be a lot of what's like parallel thinking. And okay, so for you, I've heard the stories before of comedians talk about how for the first 5 years of doing stand up, they were just somebody else. They weren't even themselves. They were just completely ripping off this other person. Did you have that?
Yeah, but like I started when I was like 12, and it was literally like when you say like you're somebody else, I was literally somebody else because I was like going to talent shows and like doing like Jerry Seinfeld's act.
Yeah.
So like I think that helped with the delivery part.
Mhm.
It's like you're not actually coming up with anything. You know the material's good, so it just helps you on stage. But I think like even when you start, like if you go to an open mic, you could generally like tell everybody who goes up, you could tell who their favorite comedian is just because that's who they sound like.
Mhm.
So I think that does exist to some extent. But like yeah, it's tough to find stuff that is unique to you and also is funny. So
Mhm.
like I do think that takes time. Like I think people try, it ends up not being funny, and then they just go back to doing something that they've seen before that's like proven to be funny, if that makes sense.
Well, yeah, no, that makes sense. I know, because there a huge problem with like joke thieves. Well, it's weird because you work at Gotham, right? Is it cool if I say that, or I could always edit that out? Is that cool?
Yeah, no, that's cool. That's cool.
And you're there a lot. You perform there. I know that obviously like I'm not stand up, but I remember hearing like Joe Rogan has that huge thing with like Carlos Mencia, and apparently Robin Williams used to steal a lot of jokes, and I would imagine it'd be so easy just to steal, or even just like
These days?
no, I mean like easy, like not easy, like of course it's easy just to steal. I mean easy like in that moment of like pressure, and no one's laughing, and everyone's just staring at you, and you could feel, you feel like you're dying. It must be so easy just to be like, well, I know this joke's funny. I know this joke from this comedian you've never heard of in Nashville is funny. I'm just gonna repeat it. Like I mean easy in that way of like it must be so easy just to, like almost like
Well,
like when I'm making a movie, I can't like accidentally like spurt out a scene, right? It's so meticulously planned and the dialogue is so specific.
yeah.
But if you're like eating shit on stage and you remember, or like a what's it, Mitch Hedberg joke that no one would remember, right? You could just spit it out real quick and then you almost save yourself.
Yeah, I mean, I think like I don't think anybody would do that if it wasn't premeditated.
Mhm.
Like you have your act, like you expect it to go well and you have it memorized. I don't think anybody would be like in the moment it's not going well and then they like have another comic's joke
Mhm.
that they, unless it's like a one-liner that's like memorized that they feel like comfortable delivering.
Mhm.
I think they would just like take the L and keep going. But yeah, like if you're stealing, I think it'd have to be premeditated. I don't think it'd be like spur of the moment.
Mhm.
But I do think like it's possible that they're stealing when it comes to like crowd work or like MCs when they're hosting. Like if you come on and you're like where's everybody from? And then somebody says like New Jersey, like they're all gonna say the same dumb like crowd work joke. So I think that happens just because like it's not being recorded and like they can get away with it and it's like dumb and basic. But stealing on any other level is like I don't even know why people bother to do it anymore because it's so like you're obviously gonna get caught if you're big.
What if you're not like? Do you think anyone could steal your joke and just get away with it?
Yeah, especially like at the level that I'm at, like you could definitely do a joke of mine, or and I could do somebody else's joke at like these small shows where nobody's recording, no one cares. But like, two problems with that. One, the comedy scene, even in New York, like it's pretty small. Like the people who aren't just people who go to open mics, the people who do shows, you're gonna know almost everyone, like, and you see the same faces a lot. So I think eventually you would get caught at least by one person and you would like kind of fuck up your reputation, even if it's not like a big thing. Like you would just seem like a dumbass. And then if that doesn't happen, then yeah, I guess you could steal it, but you're just like hurting yourself. It's like when you cheat on the homework. Like yeah, it's cool, but you're just hurting yourself at the end of the day.
Yeah, well, I heard with Mencia, he would find lower level comics and he would travel. You know, he was touring all the time, so he would tour. He would stop in real quick. He would watch younger level comics. He would steal whatever was funny, and then he would just keep moving. And he would do that. He did that for decades apparently, which is insane.
Yeah, I think the only way you can get away with that is like him. If you're big and like bigger than the people, and you know that their stuff isn't recorded. But like these days, it's tough. I guess he would get exposed on TikTok super quick.
That's what I was thinking.
Be like, yeah.
Nowadays it's different because he did it up until like 2005. If he would have waited 5 more years, he'd have been fucked because it would have. Everyone had an iPhone in 2010, you know, and nowadays, it would have gone immediately. So that's really interesting.
But do you think? Well, he was also stealing from Bill Cosby, which was fucked. But like, do you think for movies, like if you asked the director, I feel like all of them would admit to it because it's like a tribute, right? Or do you think some steal and they would like say, no, I've never seen that?
Well, what's interesting is, it's funny that Tarantino didn't say homage until people went, dude, this is just like this other movie. And then he was like, oh, it's an homage. And it's like, what about the decade where no one knew City on Fire? Because here's what pissed me off about it. Because if you want to go the homage route, City on Fire was like I think it was Chinese. It was either Chinese or Japanese. And in the 90s, most people didn't watch foreign films, right? We didn't have we didn't have Netflix and all those things that we do today. So it's not like people had the opportunity to see it. So the way homage works usually, at least off the way I could think of it, would be like I was watching a show called Loki, and at one point they go into this little like trailer, and it was a character gets shot, and it was identical to the scene in Kill Bill. That's an homage because it's a very famous scene, and it was very clear cut. That's Kill Bill. Or I seen another show a movie called Fear Street. In Fear Street, it was obviously an homage to Scream. The reason it works is because those are such famous scenes or famous, you know, whatever it may be, that it's obviously a reference, that it's like a wink at the audience. What happens when it's something that people don't know? Is it still an homage, right? Because like when I watched that scene in Loki or Fear Street or whatever, I didn't think, oh, this director or this creator is so clever. I thought, oh, like Kill Bill is cool, or I thought, you know, Scream was cool. But if I didn't know that, then you would be like, oh, that looks so cool. Like you would attribute those features to the director, right?
Yeah, and also like even if you admit it, I feel like it's still safe because like Tarantino steals a bunch of shit. I feel like if you asked 95% of the people who watched that movie, they would never have heard him talk about that. They wouldn't even be aware that that's a thing. So like, it's kind of common knowledge that Tarantino steals shots if you're like at all familiar with like I guess film or that sort of thing. But like, I'm sure 90% of people who watch his movies don't know that.
Right, and I think, and especially Reservoir Dogs, where like it's a foreign film from the 90s, no one's seen City on Fire, and that's so unfair because they attributed all these amazing qualities of that movie to Tarantino, where it's like you completely fucking out this other director who worked really hard, who thought of this original concept, and you completely just rip him off. I think that's messed up. I think that's wrong. And like, obviously he's made things that are original now, and he's really good, and obviously he's great and everything. But like, it, I don't know. Like, I just couldn't. I mean, okay, we've talked about this before. Like, at least off what I could tell, like when I think of things, obviously there's influences, right? And there's things you remember, and there's things that influence what you do. But there's still, you still know it's original. I know it sounds weird, but like you could see it in your head. You could see the scenes, you could see the characters. It's all in your mind, and the way the plot goes out, it's all there. Like it's almost like a puzzle piece that you have to solve within your own brain. When you steal it, you could like not steal, like when you're influenced heavily, we'll say, and you're doing homage, it's so easy to do because you don't have to. Like, you have to think when you're making a scene. You have to think, okay, this is what this route will look like. This is what this character's do. Like you have to think so hard about it. And when you want to replicate a style, so for example, me and you did a movie. I was talking about this earlier. It was a short film, and
Yeah.
it was just you getting ready, and I did it in the style of another director. It wasn't. I didn't steal it from a scene. I just did the style of it from another director, and it was so easy to do because I know how that director does it. I know it's gonna work. I know it's gonna look really good. So it was so easy to just shoot, and then edit, and everyone loved it, and everyone thought it was great, and like, it felt, yeah, like when we were talking about cheating. I remember I felt like, well, cool, I know that director's good. You know what I mean? I didn't improve. I just took what he did. So that's what bugged me
Right.
about the Tarantino thing. It's not like it's so easy to do that. It's so easy to be like, well, this works. I'll just do that. I'll put them together. I already know they work. It's so much harder when it's an original concept, original characters, original, like everything's original. It's so difficult, and it does feel cheap that he does that, which sucks.
Yeah. You think if it's like, okay, like the way The Simpsons does it would be fine because it's like so obvious, right?
But it's also parody. It's also like,
Okay, yeah. Well, okay, forget parody. Let's say a movie like does it like to a very famous scene and it's like very clearly like supposed to be that. Like
Mhm.
aren't there a bunch of movies who do like the Shining type or like
yeah, I think the difference is I like agree, like I guess the biggest difference is that with Tarantino, everyone knows his name, everyone knows his style, his movies, and everything, and they're attributing these scenes and these plot to his genius, and they're not, right? And he obviously has a lot of movies that are completely original. Like, again, Pulp Fiction and Glorious Bastards, all great movies, completely original, all his stuff. There's homage, but it's not like City on Fire was completely ripped off, and that's unfair. Or like it's true that certain shots, like there's a shot in Glorious Bastards. I mean, to be fair, it's a really famous scene, but it's like a scene that he did from like Scarface, and like I knew that. I was like, oh, that's Scarface. My mom went, what do you mean? And I was like, and I showed her the scene from Scarface, and she was like, oh, but like subconsciously you're gonna attribute that scene now to Tarantino, and like that's just so unfair. It just seems
yeah.
unfair. It just seems cheap.
Do I never heard the perspective of the people who get homaged, have you?
No, I think it would really depend. I mean, I'd be curious to hear what they said, because I'm sure it's flattering to an extent, right? If someone like lifted a couple things from me, I'd be like, oh, that's flattering. But if I was the director of City on Fire, I'd be like, fuck Quentin Tarantino, you're a rat bastard. I want money. Like, I want something. I'd be so pissed if I did, because it was just like it was shots,
I
it was
want
plots.
money.
I want something. I want credit. I want something. Like it was whole plot threads that he completely stole, and like it's kind of crazy. Like that one was the craziest example I could think of, where it's like it's just lifted, and like yeah, you know what's even more interesting, like. So let's talk about influence real quick, because I'm actually curious. Who would you say, like, you could do 2 or 3 or however many influences comedically you have for your stand-up?
Um, I would say like in terms of talking on stage, like Jerry Seinfeld,
Mm-hmm.
and then in terms of like writing, it's tough. Like, I think my influence in writing would be more like club comics, like not ones who do stand up, but just having been to a lot of like seeing these like shitty kind of Gotham shows
Mm-hmm.
and watching these like Ronnie Chang, like Roy Wood Jr., like these types of guys who are just doing like these club shows. I feel like that's probably what I picked up more than, cause like yeah, I watch a lot of Bill Burr or like Louis C.K., but you can't really like try to write like that. It's very specific to them. So I'd say I probably write more like the people I watch like all the time.
It, without going into a tangent about Burr, what I thought was so interesting, and someone pointed out in a YouTube video once, was the way he almost makes it seem like he's just talking, like, but it's obviously planned out, and I thought that was so neat that he does that. But that makes sense. I try not to watch your stand up because you told me not to, so I don't actually know what you're. I've seen a little bit of your stand up, but actually I don't have a real good grasp on what it's like.
Yeah, I don't think you've seen a show since like freshman year.
We did one sophomore year, but even then I tried like.
Oh no, we did. Yeah.
I try not to watch too much of it like that because I respect. I know the feeling, so I respect your wishes on it. For me, for sure, I had a huge influence from a director named Steven Soderbergh. He did Ocean's 11. It's like his most famous movie, Magic Mike. Edgar Wright, so he did like Scott Pilgrim vs. the World, Hot Fuzz, Shaun of the Dead, and Michael Mann, so he did Heat and Collateral and Public Enemies, and I think those are like my big three of like, yeah, like I remember, I'm sure there's like other influences there too, but like those are the main three were like, I think for visual stuff, I stole a lot from Edgar Wright, because in film school I was so used to just like, I was a writer. I didn't have film equipment to work with before film school, so I just wrote things. And when you just do that, you're able to write anything, right? You could write all these huge action scenes, you could write horror, you could write anything you wanted. But when you have to shoot stuff, well, now you need a budget, right? You don't have any money because you're in film school. And then they would have this thing where you couldn't use sound or dialogue, and it just became impossible because I was like, how am I supposed to do anything? And I remember Edgar Wright was really great at showing stuff, like visual comedy, and so that really helped me. Where, again, nowadays, like I'm way better at just like showing instead of just like dialogue. I used to just want to do everything during dialogue, and now it helped me so much to realize like you could tell a joke just using physical things. Like we did a short film. Luca did every short film ever with me, by the way. But we did a short film one time where it was Luca and my friend Van, and it was supposed to be like there's two people meeting in a park, and they're high-fiving, and they just like normal guys are showing each other, like their like Netflix playlist and like their like grocery playlist, and like restaurants they're recommending to each other. And it just takes a hard cut, and one of them pulls out cocaine, and the other one pulls out money, and it's a drug deal, and like everyone was like stunned, and I remember it helps because there's no dialogue. You guys couldn't say anything, so you guys just had to show like through your acting and through the visuals, like the shock of it being a drug deal.
You know what's crazy? Because of COVID, like, oh no, never mind. You did some stuff in studio, but I was gonna say like we never really shot anything with words.
We never did. No.
You shot some stuff that was recreations. Did you shoot anything original with words?
No.
That's so fucking crazy.
And I was supposed to.
When we graduated.
Yeah. Well, I'm still supposed to. I'm supposed to shoot 2 movies, so fingers crossed. Wait, give me 1 second. I need to get my food real quick. I'm gonna be right back.
You fat slob. I know. Sorry. This is gonna get kept in. Come on, pussy, don't say that, pussy. Come on, pussy, don't say that, pussy.
Let's get back to you.
Seriously, pussy, don't say that.
Do your influences ever leak into your performance?
Hell yeah, like definitely. Especially earlier on, like some jokes, like the cadence is like complete. I feel like you know what, honestly, I feel like the influence comes in waves of like you could have a certain joke that feels very one guy, and sometimes you can go in phases. Like if you just watch the special, I feel like you'll write at least one joke that's like kind of sounds like somebody else.
Mm-hmm.
So definitely feel it sometimes, but gotta try to avoid it.
Bummer.
But I think there are scenarios where it's okay to take like we talked about it I think last time, but like the Bill Burr helicopter thing, like I think aspects of that you absolutely should try to like use.
Mm.
Kind of like your scene, like you didn't use the actual scene, but you like molded it and used like the concept of it.
Right.
So yeah, you could definitely use like the concept of using those hand gestures. Yeah, freaking Tubbs.
Do you ever get scared that you're gonna steal too much?
I mean, like I feel like if you are, it's easier to notice and stop yourself. So I wouldn't really say I get worried about it, but like I do think it's something that I'm aware of when it's like too much, and it's something that it's easier to notice. There's one guy in particular, I don't want to say his name, but he's gotten pretty far off being like a complete Mulaney clone. So like, you know, like complete clone, like literal, like it's crazy.
Really? It's that bad?
It's like ridiculous. Like the jokes are all very funny. Like he's a good writer. He like writes funny jokes, but they're literally like if they had been said by John Mulaney, you couldn't tell the difference.
Like, what does he do? Like I'm curious. Like the cadence, or like what exactly about it?
It's the way he talks, like his movements on stage, and like the subject matter. It like you have to see if you saw it, like you would know instantly. He even kind of looks like him.
That's hilarious. I'm not gonna lie. I don't think John Mulaney is that funny.
Yeah, I wouldn't disagree with that. But I think like he has a very polished style. So a guy like that, if you copy him, you will stand out at an open mic, because people try to copy the opposite, like Louis C.K. or Bill Burr, and it ends up sounding like it really is a fine line what Bill Burr or like what the good people do, where it sounds like you're just talking, because it could be ass. Like if you're not good at it, it just comes out like you're rambling. So if you're polished like John Mulaney, I think that is easier to translate when you're bad.
I was gonna say, what makes Burr funny too is like specific wording. Like it's the specific words and details he adds to a story that actually makes the rants hilarious. Or else it would just be an angry guy yelling. Bummer.
That's true too. And he does do quite a bit of yelling.
Yeah. Is there someone who's frequently stolen from?
Stolen from? I'd say like John Mulaney, kind of. Bill Burr and Louis C.K. are what the like kind of older people try to steal from, who are like against PC. Like if they're talking about anything that's controversial, that's what they'll sound like. And then like African American comedians, there's definitely a lot of Dave Chappelle that goes on, or Chris Rock. I've seen a lot of Chris Rock. And I'm trying to think if there's anything else. If you're like a clean guy, well, you get like a one-liner guys sometimes, but that's like they're kind of a meme. And then I've seen like a few Jim Gaffigan types at comedy clubs. Like these are like established people. If they're doing clean stuff, like you'll get kind of a Jim Gaffigan vibe. Not at open mics. Open mics, no one really does that.
Yeah. Is it good? Like, are they good? Are they funny?
Yeah, there's some that are very good. Like even like the John Mulaney clone, like he's very good. If he ghost wrote for John Mulaney, like it wouldn't lose quality. It might even be better, but like it just feels so like not real.
That sucks. Isn't that? Could you? Do you think the audience could tell that, or do you think you could just tell that?
I think like at open mics, everyone can tell because they all watch a shit ton of comedy. But like, I guess if he's at a club, some people wouldn't, and then that's kind of what he wants. But I don't know. Like, what about you? How do you feel like? Do you feel like? So you said when you did the homage, like no one even noticed, right?
Mm-hmm.
But it wasn't that. It was pretty subtle.
I stole the style of it. Not like it wasn't a movie of his. It wasn't a scene of his. I just stole the
Right.
style. Like, so the director I stole from was Edgar Wright. And drink some water. It was an Edgar Wright style of he does this thing where when he wants to show characters doing mundane things quickly, it's quick shots of the actions being done. You just kind of like a zoom into, and quick cut to the next one, so it feels energetic. And then I just did the same thing. I had Luca tie his shoes, button up his shirt, the whole nine, and then I ended it with. So those were all quick cuts, all quick actions, and I ended it with him getting cologne and spraying his balls with the cologne because he's getting ready for a date, and it just lingers on it for like 10 seconds. So I thought it would be funny, just if he just lingered on it. So obviously Edgar Wright never had a scene where someone gets ready like that and sprays their balls with cologne, but I knew the style was his. I knew that style was very funny, so I just replicated it. No one noticed, which I thought was funny, but it was obvious I stole it. At least to me it was. It felt very like apparent that this is just Edgar Wright, and I didn't like it because I was like, I know this is just someone else, so like, you know what I mean, like I didn't want to continue doing that, but in that one scenario I needed to literally, we had a week to make movies, so I was like, fuck it, this works, this will be funny, no one gives a shit, and I did it. Isn't that weird? Like, you could tell when you're stealing, like it's really obvious to you, like this is what I'm taking.
Well, like, have you ever like? Because I guess that one was like a stolen, but was that the only time?
Yeah. Just that.
So I guess I've never like done a joke on stage where I'm like, this is stolen,
Right.
just because like right. So yeah, I don't know.
Influenced.
There's some where it sounds like, I feel like those. So like there's quite a bit of recycling that goes on with sets. Like it's like a cell. You know how they say like your cells, you become completely new after what, 7 years or something.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of like that, but I'd say with maybe like 1 year. So I definitely feel like the ones that aren't, that kind of sound like other people, get phased out way quicker. You kind of lose interest in them. So
Would you say the longer you've done it, the easier it is to not be influenced so easily?
yeah, definitely, because you start to find like your, I mean it's cliche, but like your own voice, I guess. Like you start to almost copy yourself, like you're writing in, because your voice is not actually who you are in real life. Like you do kind of have a persona, so once you know who that is and you can write for yourself, then it becomes easier. It's the same with TikToks, honestly. Like you have your account, like people view you, they don't view you like your friends view you.
Right.
Like you have a thing, like this is you. So once you realize what your thing is, and then you start making content for it, it gets easier.
No, I have the same exact thing because I write scripts. So when I barely started writing scripts, it wasn't stolen, but it wasn't good, and I didn't know who I was as a writer. You don't know what your weak points are, your strong points. You're just writing, and you can't even tell what's good or bad about it. And the more you write, the more you're like, oh. And it's a funny thing of like, I don't know if you get this. If it's really good, it's so easy to write. It just like, I could write it. My best scripts I've written like in a day, where like for short films, and like it just comes immediately. And then you reread it days later, like this is still really good, and it's such a specific thing. I mean, in the beginning too, like, so I read a lot of horror, I like a lot of comedy, and I just couldn't get it in the beginning. Like the horror wasn't scary. It was weird, but it wasn't scary. And the comedy, wasn't quite there either. And then I just worked on it, and it was a funny thing of like, there was influences, but I still made it my own. You know what it was? It's because where I'm from, like, we might actually have this in common. Where I'm from, and I'm from the Inland Empire in California. There's a lot of people from California that go to NYU, but
The what?
Inland Empire. That's what it's called. The IE. It's just an area. It's just like a county. And most of the people from here, where I'm from, don't leave, right? We don't go out into the world and become, writers. Most of the writers I met at NYU were from, Santa Monica, Torrance, Los Angeles, that kind of area, or they're from like the Bay Area, or they're from New York. They're from big cities. So what was so easy about it was and this isn't theft because it's just stuff I found funny. So like I have friends here that I think are funny, and like I have a friend named Alex from Starbucks. He's not even intentionally funny, but to me he's fucking hilarious. Like this is a real story. I worked at Starbucks for years, and he was just really like indifferent about shit. Like he was always like in a good mood because he was just super indifferent about the world, and like he would work morning shifts with me, and people were always pissed. So we were at the window. I was making drinks, and he was working the window and talking to customers. And this one lady pulls in, it's this younger woman, and she's just in a bad mood. You could sense it. You could tell people are just pissed. And Alex, gives her a drink, takes her money, and I could hear her, like in the tone. I didn't even know what she was. I just heard the tone of the voice, and I was like, "Fuck, she's gonna want a different drink." So Alex was like, "Bro, she said the caramel macchiato you made wasn't good." And I was like, "Oh, okay, I got you." So I remake the caramel macchiato. I'll give it back to her, and she's pissed this time. She's like, "I wanted it cold," and I was like, "Fuck." So I remake an iced caramel macchiato. And he's like, "Bro, hurry up, bro. We got like fucking 10 cars, bro. We gotta hurry up." So I make it faster, give it to her, and she's just pissed. And she was like, "Why would I want it like this?" And I was like, "Ma'am, what do you think a caramel macchiato is?" And she was like, "It's blended." And I was like, "It's a frappuccino." Oh, and this entire time, she was just yelling at Alex. She was just like, "Do you guys even know what you're doing? Do you guys have a manager? Where's your manager there?" And just the entire time, just complaining the entire time. So I finally handed it to her. She was like, "It's a frappuccino. It's not even a macchiato." And she was like, "Oh, whatever." Grabs it, drives off. And then we started doing our jobs again, and Alex goes, "Bro, hey, bro. Jacob, bro." This is like in the middle of like fucking like the super packed Starbucks, right? Like people are pissed. And I was like, "What? What the fuck do you want?" And he was like, "Bro, you see that girl?" I was like, "What? You see that girl? The girl like 2 minutes ago?" It's like the fucking one that just yelled at us. And he was like, "Yeah, bro. She was fucking cute." And I was like, "Bitch!" And like, it was hilarious because he just didn't give a shit. Like she was fucking yelling at him, but like his personality was so fucking funny. And there was so many people like that I knew that when I wrote, I just replicated them. Like I just replicated who they were and was able to put in my writing, and people thought it was funny. Like people would read it and be like I remember like we had roommates that would read them and think they're hilarious, like these characters. And obviously they're not identical to some of these people, right? I've changed them and I made them characters, but they were so influenced by my upbringing that it made it so easy to write them. Like when they wrote comedy, everyone has different styles, but the most common version of comedy I've seen was making fun of people. And that's so easy to do. And those, like the dumb conservative, the dumb Christian, or, all those bullshit things. And, you could do that. That's fine. What I thought was better was having just funny people. Like, you know what I mean? Like, is there anyone who, like, their takes on the world is just funny? Like, they're not trying to be funny, but their take on the world is fucking funny. Like, their view of the world is such a dumb thing. Like we have a friend named Mark, and I remember one time we have another friend. We were in a group chat, and like this friend was just going on this crazy rant about diets and how we're all suckers for eating 3 meals a day, and how we're all stupid for trying to eat 3 meals a day, and all this shit. And I remember in my mind I was like, "The fuck am I a sucker?" Like I got like really defensive and all this shit.
But what was the correct amount?
Well, he was just saying that we should fast. That like Spartans used to fast. Yeah, I mean, which is fine. Like, but he's just like they're trying to trick us. They're saying we need breakfast, lunch, and dinner. We don't need all this shit. And I was ready to go like this full debate thing with him. And our friend Mark just responded to this huge paragraph. It was like a fucking essay. Like this man wrote like pages of text, and Mark just responded simply with, I eat when I'm hungry. And I started laughing my ass off. Because it's like, oh yeah, I didn't even eat 3 meals a day. Immediately I thought, I was like, I don't even eat 3 meals a day. I just eat like, I just eat when I'm hungry. Like I thought about it. I was like, oh yeah,
Right.
I snack if I'm hungry. And if it's late, I'll eat a big meal before I go to bed.
You ever eat when you're bored though? Hang on, let me get a charger.
Fuck yeah.
See, that is something I need to cut out.
Oh, same here, buddy.
But like, I feel like that's a legit eating disorder, which I need to get resolved because it's got to be a crutch for something, you know.
You're just bored. It happens to everybody. Like when I'm busy,
Yeah, but you shouldn't use food that way. How do you break out of that?
I don't know. I remember when I was really busy at NYU, there was one day I was so busy in class that we went to get dinner late. Like at like 9, it was me, Jack, and Mark, and we were going to Palladium. And I remember I got tunnel vision. When waiting for them. Like I got my food, went in line, paid for it. I got really intense tunnel vision, and I was like, oh, I'm gonna faint. Like I dawned on me like I haven't, and then I thought back and I was like, oh, I haven't eaten the entire day, and I wasn't hungry either. I was so busy I wasn't hungry, and I was like, oh, I'm gonna faint now. And it dawned on me like I'm really gonna faint, and I was like, should I sit down? I was like, if I sit down and I faint, people are gonna think I'm sleeping. And I was like, well, I'm standing and I faint, I'm gonna hit the ground. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna tell Jack. So I grabbed Jack real quick because he got out of line. I was like, hey, I'm about to faint right now. And then I had sushi and a Sprite, and I was like, I'm just gonna fucking chow down. So I just like started scarfing down sushi and just chugging the Sprite, and I felt fine. But yeah, in that day I was so busy. There was just a lot of days at NYU where I was so busy I would forget to eat, and I'd have to I would bring Cliff Bars because I'd be like, okay, I don't want to faint again. It was such a crazy feeling. Have you ever like tunnel vision, like really bad tunnel vision?
Not like that.
It was, dude. I was like, oh wow, I'm gonna faint. Like I was like, in about like a couple minutes, I'm gonna faint now. Like I felt my legs get like jelly. I was like, oh wow, I'm really gonna faint. That's crazy.
Does that ever happen to you where you're like, this happens all the time to me, where like, I need to do something that I don't really like, I'm procrastinating it, so then I'll eat to avoid doing it. I'll be like,
No.
yeah, let me go get some food, I'll do that after. Like, I'll do that after I eat. Like, I gotta eat first. And like, I'm clearly like, if I really think about it, I'm just eating as like a crutch to avoid the thing that I'm trying to avoid, which is like terrible. Like I gotta not do that.
That's bad. The closest thing I can think of is I will, if it's later in the day, or maybe even if it's early in the day, I will say like, if I accomplish this, I'll have like a little something. But I don't. If I'm trying to procrastinate, I have this really annoying thing of I'll walk. I'll literally like, put my headphones on and I'll get some water.
Yeah, around the house.
For no reason. Yeah. I'll just walk and I'll just like look around rooms and shit, and I'll be like, what am I doing right now? And I'm like, oh, I'm procrastinating. Like, it's that bad. In New York, it was really bad because you have the whole city to roam around. So I'd get up and just like, I'd go to Starbucks. I wouldn't. I would just keep walking and then be like, okay, I should probably do this now.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. Fucked.
Yeah. But yeah, going back to influence and everything, like, I don't know, like, it's you know what my biggest compliments I've ever gotten from, I don't know if you've ever had this, the biggest compliments I get when I'm writing or when I'm directing or when I'm doing anything is I'll do it, and the biggest compliments I've gotten when I show my work to other people usually is that like I'll write a scene or I'll do anything and someone will be like, this reminds me of something else but that I've never seen before or from a person I've never even heard of. And then like I remember I wrote a scene for my class. My professor was like, oh, this is like that scene in Magnolia. I was like, I've never seen Magnolia. I don't watch so many Paul Thomas Anderson films. And like he showed the scene and I was like, oh, this is a cool scene. Like in those times, like it feels good just because you know you didn't steal it. You know it wasn't even influenced by it. I'm not a Paul Thomas Anderson fan. No offense to he's great, but he's not my cup of tea. And but you know it's good, you know? And like in those moments I do feel like, oh cool, like I made something, I don't know, I don't want to explain it, like that
like is objectively good.
Right, like the scene from like I think when the comparison is something that's like the scene from Magnolia that he showed me, I was like, this is a good scene, and it's not good here's another thing about Tarantino. There's a certain class of creators, and I'm sure there's something like this in comedy, where it's almost like that thing between like what's avant-garde and fucking kitsch, kitsch. I don't know how to pronounce that shit. Like
Kitsch?
like pop culture bullshit and good shit, right? There's that fine line.
Kitsch.
I remember reading something about that like in college. Anyways, okay, like there's pop culture bullshit and then there's like high art, right? Right? Like what's it like Moonlight's high art and then like Get Out's kind of pop culture bullshit. I love both, right? But right, Avengers, pop culture bullshit. And then fucking I don't know. Uncut Gems. Uncut Gems kind of in the middle. But I guess that riding the line of it is so weird because Tarantino really rides the line of like fucking high art bullshit. Like, is Pulp Fiction high art or is it bullshit? It's kind of fucking stupid when you think about it. It's like a dumb movie, but it's good. But it's dumb.
What would it be considered?
I don't know. That's what I'm saying. He rides that line of it's so good, but it's so stupid. Like he
Wait,
rides.
what are your influences? You'd say?
I said them already. Steven Soderbergh, Michael Mann, and Edgar Wright. Yeah. But he rides that line. But he does that though, and he doesn't care because that's his style, and that works. But when people try to replicate it, usually it doesn't hit high art. It usually goes in bullshit. You know what I mean? Like if someone were to call my work Tarantino-like, I'd be like, oh fuck. Like it's not good. Because
it's not.
No.
For sure.
Positive. Because it's gonna mean it's pop culture bullshit. It's not gonna like.
But what's bad about that? Like 21 Jump Street's your favorite comedy.
Because. Okay, I see what you're saying, but like. First off, I think comedy's different than drama. And even then, like, if someone said, this is like 21 Jump Street, it would still be like, oof, like, because that's the same thing. They ride the line of, like, 21 Jump Street, would you agree that it's, like, an insanely funny movie? It's, like, insanely funny. But also it is obviously stupid. Like, it's not high art at all. But, like, it's so funny it makes up for it, right? Like, we kind of accept that, like, as, like, reality. It's like a tough thing to like do. It's almost like whichever one, the Bill Burr, Louis C.K. Like if someone compared someone else to Louis C.K. that wasn't Louis C.K., I'd be like, it's probably gonna be dog shit. It's probably gonna be very like stupid. It's probably like Louis C.K. has a weird thing of like he's able to do high concept philosophy of sorts with his comedy, right? That one where he talks about
he really is like a philosopher.
Well, yeah, like that one he talks about where
they all are.
Not all of them, and there's a lot of his jokes that are not philosophy, and they're just dumb boner jokes, which is fine. Like they're very funny, but he's capable of both. Like I guess what I'm saying is like if you were to compare someone to Tarantino, they're probably not comparing you to his best. They're probably gonna compare you to the dumb campy shit, just like 21 Jump Street. It's not the clever 21 Jump Street jokes. It's probably going to be the dumb ones. And that's not what you want to do. That's why when like I got compared to Magnolia, it actually felt great because it's like, that isn't, like here's a good example. Get Out, right? Get Out's a fucking great movie. There's been a lot of black horror cinema that has come out since Get Out that's influenced heavily by Get Out. And it's all dog shit. It's all horrible. Have you heard of Antebellum? Antebellum? I'm going to spoil Antebellum. If you want to watch that movie, watch it. It's awful. It's about a woman. She's a modern day. She's black. It's Janelle Monáe, who's a great actress. She's so good. I don't know why the fuck she was in this movie. And she's like an author.
What does she look like?
She's great. She's the woman that sings in that song "We Are Young," I think. Anyways.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So she's like a modern day author, But then she wakes up one day and she's in like the antebellum South, like in slavery. And it's like a horror movie about her being a slave in the antebellum South. And she's like, how is this possible? How am I in the South? And the twist is that like a bunch of modern day.
How am I in the South?
No, it's weird. Like it's like the slavery days, right? And the twist is that it's not really the past; it's the present. And a bunch of like wealthy white people recreated like plantations in the South and were kidnapping black people to put them in there. It's awful. It's such a bad fucking movie. And there's another show called Them. It's about a black family in the 50s, and they go to like a LA home, and then all their neighbors are white and they're all super racist, and they get haunted by like this ghost. It's awful. It's genuinely awful. Like terrible. Like I can't stress this enough. And like it's one of those cases like some things you just can't replicate. Some things you just can't. It's good because this person made it. Jordan Peele is really good at making the type of movies he makes. Horrors, they're thrillers. They're comedy thrillers, and he's amazing at making them. Us and Get Out are really fun, and they're really good. I think Get Out a lot better than Us, but still. Everything that's replicated, it's dog shit. Just like Tarantino, everything that replicates Tarantino is dog shit. And there's never been a replicant of Tarantino that were like, oh, that's a fucking good movie. Like, it's so weird because like you could replicate Scorsese and it's good. Joker is just a ripoff of King of Comedy. Good movie. I don't like it, but people like it a lot, right? Like some people you could completely rip off, and it's still like a good movie. Like, have you seen Black Mass with Johnny Depp?
Black Mask.
Black Mass. He plays like Whitey Bulger. No, it's a rip. It's like a Scorsese ripoff. It was good. Like some people you could rip off and it's still okay. Like it's still like a solid movie. And then there's other people you rip off and it's like, this is dog shit. This is horrible. And you should never do this ever again because this is bad. And like Louis C.K. is one of those people.
You ever seen that movie company? I'm pretty sure it might be Brazilian who just does rip-offs of Disney movies.
Oh, Disney movies?
Ratatouille?
No. I think you see it like blockbuster movies. That's hilarious. Isn't there one where it's like cat and shoes?
Yeah, it's so funny. The funniest is probably Ratatouille, like the Ratatouille ripoff. But there's also Up, where it's like the old man is pissed and he dies. Like it's just hilarious.
Oh my god! But there's like the fucking sci-fi people who do like instead of like Transformers, it's like it's like I don't even what's the fuck another word like transfers. Yeah. Transfers, like it's the same shit. Instead of like Kong versus Godzilla, it's like monkey versus like big ass lizard. Like, well, this is obviously that. And like those are great.
That's hilarious. Yeah, I mean, so it's possible. It's possible to do it great. Ratatouille.
Ratatouille. That sounds. Is he a cook?
Oh, he's a cook.
It's cool. It's methamphetamine.
Actually, I'm not even sure. Hang on.
What?
Dude, his face. Ratatouille's face is so funny.
It's so stupid.
Wait, I have to share the screen, right?
Okay.
Oh, fuck. I can't. You disabled it, you bastard.
Let me see if I can fix that real quick. Fuck. Preferences. Share screen. I don't know how to fucking fix this.
Just literally Google Ratatouille and go to images.
It's so stupid. Okay. Let me see. How the fuck do you spell that?
Just rat and then A and then Toing. Toing.
Oh my god, it's right here.
Look at the fat one.
Well, this looks so
funny.
bad, dude.
His voice is awful too, but it's a great movie.
Could you see my screen?
Rat. Oh wait. Yeah, now I can. So cute. Ratatouille. Ratatouille.
Looks so shit, dude.
It's amazing.
Oh my god.
I forget what company does it, but yeah.
It's awful. I mean, yeah, for comics is like Bill Hicks isn't Bill like do people not do Bill Hicks anymore?
No.
That's interesting.
Not.
What do young people usually steal from? Is it just Mulaney or what?
Young people, no, I'd say it's like lately it's been kind of more like the avant-garde shit, like the Bo Burnhams or like the type of shit that's more like how do you even say this? Like experimental. Like they'll do like nihilist humor. It's like weird, if that makes sense.
I know it's a big ask. Could you give it like could you like an example of like a joke or like maybe like a punchline or anything like any like 'cause I wanted like I don't know what you mean.
Yeah, like it's almost these weird anti-jokes where they'll be like, "This is an impression." I'm not gonna do it justice, but like, I'm trying to think of one I saw before. It's like, it's almost art. It's like this is an impression of like the inner workings of like a man in a relationship or something, and then they'll just yell into the mic for like 60 seconds for like way too long, and they think that that's funny.
Do people laugh?
There's a few because it's so uncomfortable, but
Do you laugh? Is it funny?
I fucking crack up. Like whenever stand up is bad, it's so funny.
It's so sad. And
Twitch coming soon.
Any last things you want to talk about before we wrap up, or?
What do you think? Oh man, I guess I just want to do a PSA to folks on Earth. Hopefully no one sees this, but I went to this party over the weekend where this woman, who were like the hosts of the party, insisted, and I'm talking about like insisted that I did stand up like at the party. And this was a small gathering, like maybe 20 people max. Mm-hmm. And at first they said like, "Oh, you guys know Lucas like does stand up." I was like, "Oh yeah." There's like, "You should do some." I was like, "It's a joke." Like the amount of times that I get like people say that if you do stand up, they're always like, "Tell a joke," you know? So I was like, whatever. They brought it up once, I didn't do shit. They brought it up a second time, I didn't do shit. They brought it up to me alone. I was like, still like, this is weird. They kept bringing it up. At one point, the woman's just like, "Okay, like, it's now, like, you're gonna do it." And it's in the middle of the fucking, like, everybody's sitting around a table, like some Great Gatsby, like fancy party almost. And she literally just says, like, "All right, guys, like, this is what's, like, he's about to do it. Like, get up and do it." So, like, it almost seemed like I volunteered. She was like, "Luca's going to do some jokes now," as if, like, I requested this.
Did you say no?
The amount of times I said no is ridiculous.
Okay, but
and then,
not to be a dick, I just want to make clarify. Like, you straight up are like, "No, I'm not doing this."
I wasn't even like, "Oh, maybe later, maybe later."
Right.
I literally said like, "No, like I don't have anything ready. Like I'm like I can't. Like."
Okay.
I mean, I didn't want to be rude. Obviously, I wasn't like,
right.
"Fuck you, no." I was just like maybe next time, like I can't do it.
Okay.
But then they literally tell me like, "It's time to do it. You're gonna do it." Actually, they wanted me to rap first, so then I was like, as a compromise.
Dude, that's
like
insane.
So like, which would have been worse? The rap would have been like, what the like? What do you mean? But then like, yeah,
like you're a circus
I felt terrible.
monkey.
Literally, that's literally what I felt
crazy.
like. And like, so like, I needed to do it because like my mom. It was like, oh, I don't know. Should I even expose this? There was a reason why like I needed to impress these people. You don't need to edit it, but like I needed to like make this go well. I couldn't just say no, so I like had to do it. And then second, like it was so cringe because it felt, I'm sure to everyone there, that like this guy is just like gets up and wants to be the center of attention. Mm-hmm. Like, "Hey guys, listen," like the fucking guy with the guitar who plays Wonderwall at the like frat party. Like,
right, of course, yeah.
Like it's
isn't that crazy? We all have that
yeah.
one guy. It's always Wonderwall.
Right.
It's always fucking Wonderwall.
It was one of the worst experiences ever. So like. Mm-hmm. Never do that, everybody.
Does that happen often?
You'll always get like the tell me a joke, but no, I've never had someone force it.
That's just weird. It's funny too, cause like I worked at Starbucks. No one's ever like make me a coffee. Like, you know what I mean? I'm never at a party and someone's like, "Start brewing, bitch." Like that never.
I do. I tell you that a lot.
That's it's fucked. I mean, it's literally like it's like your job. It's not like, you know what I mean? It's not like a fucking hobby. Like that's terrible.
Right, and it's like I don't even mind it because it's like, oh, I'm on the clock. Like this is what I do for work or whatever. It's more like, it's just a cringy situation. Like I don't want to do this. I'm not the like.
But that's what I'm saying.
What
Like
the hell?
it's not like this. Like because I think they think of it as like a party trick almost, right? Like, oh, like it's like that one guy that could flip their fucking eyelids backwards and like, oh, let's see, look who do it. Like they don't realize like this is a very hard and difficult thing to do. And I mean, on top of it being cringe, and 20 people is fucking, that's just weird. And
it's like,
yeah,
it's like, if it was, if I could just tell, I wish maybe I had a one-liner because it's like stand up. Like I had to do a set. Like I had to do like 4 minutes.
You just
said
like, that so sucks.
Well, because I couldn't just tell one joke. It would be so out of context. It would be terrible. Like, I don't have one-liners. So, like, I had to do, like, a 4-minute set.
I would just start stealing a bunch. See, that's the perfect time to start stealing Mitch Hedberg.
That's true.
There's no such thing there's no such thing as broken escalators. There's just brand new stairs. And be like, wow, that's really good observation. That literally
is the perfect time to steal it. Yeah, that's true. I should have.
You should steal Louis C.K. like the most offensive crude humor. So I had to whip my dick, right?
Any parting thoughts from Drake?
Yeah, that's fucked up. People shouldn't actually do that. Louis C.K. is still a piece of shit, and influence and real quick. Is this not? It's something I thought was interesting. Have you ever came across someone who's so naturally fucking boring and lacked artistic ability that you just think to yourself, like, just fucking steal? Like, at least if you stole, like, we could get through this. Like, this is such a shit ordeal. In film school, go ahead.
Yeah, well, just a quick aside. I actually, like, forgot to mention this before. The kids in, like, the thing I teach at Gotham, all of those motherfuckers steal, and it's like it's so blatant, and like I don't even bring it up because like I don't want to be that guy and like ruin their little dreams, but like yeah,
that makes sense. Like in
film school,
in film school, like you had people who were that were not kids; they were like my age, and they like fuck, dude, and they're nice people. They were nice. They were kind, caring, likable people, great personalities, and for some reason they completely lacked fucking artistic ability, where like they were just so fucking boring. And oh my god, here's my fucking rant. Okay, I've wanted to go this many times. Stop fucking writing about yourself. No one cares about you. No one gives a shit about you or your life. It's not fucking good. It's not interesting. You're not interesting. Like, that's something people have to understand, that you're not interesting. No one gives a fuck about you. And, like, that's a hard pill to swallow. I would never write about myself because you wouldn't give a shit. No one else would give a shit. I would care only to myself. Go to a therapist. No one else is here for that. Here's the biggest problems you have with this. When you write, you have to have empathy for all of your characters. That's what makes it good. You have to know your characters and have a lot of empathy for them. When you write your own stories, you're always going to have empathy for yourself and no one else. It's always going to be your perspective, your point of view, and you're always going to be the greatest person ever. You're so nice and you're so funny and you're so great, and everyone's wrong and you're right. It's so fucking boring. Stop writing yourself. Holy shit. And in those moments, I would be like, just fucking steal. Just steal Tarantino, steal Christopher Nolan, steal fucking anybody, Spielberg. Like, holy, did you ever have that? Where like they lacked ability. Like, I don't know why the fuck they're in film school. Like, look, seriously, people. I'm a broke fucking... Oh, sorry, Siri popped up because I said seriously, people. I'm a broke fucking Mexican from Fontana, California. Like, no one's ever heard of Fontana. No, there's no broke Mexicans in NYU film school. I was the only one, okay? There was, like, one other Latino. Super rare. And I'm not saying, like, I'm, like, some amazing artistic talent. I'm not. I'm, like, whatever, and, like, it is what it is. But, like, at least I'm fucking original. And at least, like... You know how many people... I was like, how the fuck did you get in here? Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Am I just a crazy person? Dude, like, holy fuck. Like, they were so nice. And it's like, I wanted to be like, just go into business, go into fucking law, go into biology. Be a nurse. Be a fucking doctor. Why the fuck are you here right now? You can't write for shit. I don't know what the fuck they do now. I don't even know. It's like, not even just writing. It's like direct. It's like fucking everything, dude. Holy balls.
They're going to be extremely successful.
What happened?
They're going to be extremely successful and you'll eat your words.
No. Some people you could tell. Some people are so fucking good. I mean, there's so many people I had class with where I was like, holy shit. Like, they're so talented. And like, you would, like, I remember I'd come home some days and be like, fuck, I have to, like, up my game now. Like, I have to be good. Because I'd be like, fuck, dude, I'm so, like, not good compared to them. Like, there's some people who had vision and, like, the way they could write characters and the way they could shoot shit. What are you looking at right now? You're not looking at me. You Googling some shit, bitch? You doing your fucking Amazon wish list right now, motherfucker? I'm on a fucking rant, bitch.
I was looking at more ratatouille pictures.
I fucking hate you. But yeah, like, I don't know. Stand-up has to be a bunch, right? Because at least to get into NYU Film School, you have to, like, submit a resume and applications and shit. To become a stand-up, you just have to be some dumb bitch and walk into a club.
Yeah. Well, I think, like, the barrier to entry is lower for stand-up. Like, people just go to vent. It's more therapy. Like, I'm talking about open mics, like, not actual comedians.
Right, of course.
But yeah. There's like, no real, like, that for film.
There is, bitch.
I guess people who just shoot
everybody
TikToks.
Fucking here. No, everyone in, like, oh my god. In my film school, there's so many people who are like, I don't want to be a suburban mom. I want to do other things. And it's like, you're going to make fucking 10 movies about that shit? I don't give a fuck. Genuinely, though, how many times I've seen scripts where it was dudes about their masculinity, and it was like, and about their dads, and I'm going to prove something to their dads. And it's like, don't you have anything else better to fucking write? Don't you have any fucking creativity and imagination? How the fuck did you get in here? Genuinely, how the fuck did you get into NYU film program? It's just the same little bitchy remarks about their masculinity, and they always put in random sex scenes for no reason. It's like, have you ever even touched a boob? Like, why the fuck are we here right now? Why am I reading your script about how your dad doesn't love you and how you're trying to have sex with your girlfriend that's not actually real? Anyway, you know how many, and then, like, for the women, holy fuck, the women repeatedly, it was just the same bullshit. It's like, I don't want to be a fucking, like, middle-class mom raising kids. Don't do that.
Idiot.
Ba-da-ba-ba. It's a great song. That's a great song. Regardless, they lacked so much creativity that it was just like, what fucking shit, just do something else with your day. Oh my god.
Very good.
So we're gonna wrap up, everybody. Thank you for watching, Amari. Thanks for watching, Amari. I've been Jacob.
Thanks, B. And I've been James.
He's been James. Shout out to Eric and Jason. We'll see you guys next week. Deuces, hoes.